Hey everyone, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy the audiobooks, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support us further, consider becoming a Patreon member. As a member, you'll gain the ability to request the next part of a novel audiobook I've uploaded, depending on your Patreon tier.
Unfortunately, Nathan couldn't return to the dorm yet since Vivian called him to her office. In the dimly lit room, Vivian squinted her eyes with a judging gaze. "Congratulations for the third place." Nathan politely bowed to her. "It's thanks to you, teacher." Of course, Alicia's lesson helped a lot. "Is that so?" Vivian paused for a moment. "Now that you get a lot of cores, you should take this chance to swallow all of them for yourself, not for that wolf. By sacrificing more Aina, you will be able to summon a more powerful familiar." The reason why Vivian gave this advice was because she didn't know about the soul contract. It was the norm in this world to focus on getting a stronger familiar at the start rather than evolving a weak familiar. However, Nathan had a soul contract that could share the amount of Aina he had with his familiars. Fenrir was also the monstrous wolf of Asgard. He didn't know if his second familiar would be stronger than him or not. While it was true that he had someone in his mind, he still didn't know whether he would come or not. There was a high chance that getting a godlike familiar like Fenrir was just luck. That was why Nathan treated this summoning ritual as a test about his real ability. "I understand, teacher. I'll swallow all the cores for myself." "Good. What do you think about the trip? Have you learned a lot?" "Definitely. It's just, there is something I'd like to ask." Nathan raised a finger. "I encountered an alien that was much different than most aliens I encountered in the forest." "A mutant?" Vivian squinted her eyes. "Is that the name for such an alien?" Nathan asked. "Yes." "Did you subjugate it?" "I did kill it, but I wasn't alone." Vivian's expression turned grim. She contemplated for a moment before saying, "Well, I guess it's to be expected after hearing that Wolf managed to kill the juvenile class alien." "Why do you sound so surprised, teacher? Is a mutant dangerous?" Vivian nodded. "A normal alien has the chance to mutate due to the change in environment. Sometimes they gain something that they don't have, such as fins or even wings. Sometimes they gain extraordinary physical abilities, surpassing aliens of the same class." Nathan recounted his memory about the alien. "In my case, the alien had a tail shaped like a blade. I saw an alien with a single, robust tail that looked like a bat, but it was pretty much the same as its peers. It was different for this blade-tailed alien. Its tail was extremely sharp. While its strength was stronger than its peers, it wasn't that dangerous. Fenrir managed to handle it." Nathan added inwardly, he needed to use Alicia's ability though. "I see. A proto-class mutant is not that dangerous, but it's a different case for stronger mutants. You know about the 5 classes of the aliens, right? Proto, juvenile, mature, warrior, and elite classes," Nathan replied. "In the past, there were 3 summoners trying to subjugate a warrior-class alien. This was supposed to be an easy job for those 3, but the alien mutated during their fight. The warrior-class mutant killed them. Because of that mutation, it actually gained the strength close to the elite-class alien. What I'm trying to say here is that the stronger the alien, the bigger the impact a mutation would bring to that particular alien. If you find yourself fighting a mutant, you should run away immediately." Nathan didn't expect the mutant was actually such a scary creature. "Where is the mutant's core? I told you that I wasn't alone at that time, right? So that person got the mutant's core?" "Yes." "Who is that person?" "Raven Risent." Nathan revealed the name without blinking an eye. Obviously, Vivian was angry, thinking that this Raven didn't know when to stop. The reason Nathan revealed Raven's name was because of the trick he pulled in the forest. He realized that Raven was not as shallow as he thought, which meant that if Raven was still harboring hatred, he would plan it carefully. By mentioning his name, Vivian would probably not make a move on him, but she would definitely put surveillance on Raven, which basically stopped him from harming him in the future with his careful plan. Now that he had kept Raven in check, he could be more bold with showing his strength. I don't know if people will know about you defeating a mutant, or will he take credit for it. But I'm sure that your name will be known by a lot of people pretty soon. At that time, if someone dares to ask you to become their student, make sure you reject them. Does that include the principal? Nathan reminded her that she once told him that she couldn't protect him from the principal. I'm going to leave the academy if he dares to steal my student. Ah ha ha. Nathan let out a hollow laugh. As he expected, people would care more for their disciples if they were special and strong. If he wanted to get the resources and gain connections, he had no choice but to reveal his strength. There was no point in hiding it. Have you thought about what familiar you're planning to summon next? I believe so. Fenrir has given me some clues. All right then. Just write it down on the paper, and the school will handle it. If you don't have any other questions, you can get some rest. Good work. Yes. Nathan politely nodded and exited the room. After the sound of the lock clicked, Vivian leaned back, her expression melting. This is hard. You should have praised him, mistress. The young master is so pitiful that she doesn't get the praise despite achieving such a great thing. Vivian's eyebrows twitched as she looked away, saying, I don't want him to become complacent. Are you still unable to move on from that incident? Alicia shook her head helplessly. Vivian closed her eyes with a pained expression. I don't want him to experience the hopelessness and sadness that came after losing a familiar. It's better if he treated me as a cold teacher. Alicia couldn't reply, fully knowing what happened in the past. Fenrir raised his head, looking at the open window with a handkerchief tied to the handle. He couldn't help but sigh, to think that this great Fenrir is reduced to a swindler. Nathan had been planning this all along. He knew that if he somehow won against Selena, he could use him as a courier to get closer to Selena. Tisk. Fenrir clicked his tongue before leaping into the room, finding Selena and Risa already waiting for him. It might be because of her excitement that Selena actually moved the table near the window, allowing Fenrir to descend to the table right after reaching the window. She would sit in front of him, listening and taking notes. Selena stared at Fenrir intensely, as if she couldn't contain her excitement. I have made you wait. Fenrir landed on the table, but it was too small for his current size, so he chose to lie down on the bigger bed, even though his paws would dirty the sheet. However, he acted as if it didn't matter because he carried the information Selena wanted. I heard you wanted to know more about Lilith. Yes. Selena nodded. I want to know everything, from her appearance to all the basic information. If possible, I'd like to know the thing that might link it to her. But do you have the Aina to actually summon her? That's. Selena looked away. Lilith was a vampire progenitor. Even his father summoned Dracula as his fifth familiar. Instead of summoning her right away, it's better if you summon the one related to her first. If it works, that means summoning her is possible once you have more Aina. Fenrir harumphed. The ones related to her. Selena thought Fenrir's suggestion made sense. What is this being related to her? I'll first talk about Lilith. When I fought against those vampires, I learned about her origin. She is traced back to the human ancestor, Adam. As his wife, Lilith refused to submit to Adam, and left the Garden of Eden, later becoming a demoness. She was associated with seducing men in their sleep, causing nocturnal emission, or more like producing the demonic offspring or Lilitu. So if we're talking about a test, it's better to try summoning those lesser beings. A demoness. Seduction. Selena blinked her eyes a few times while inhaling deeply. Just listening to it made her face red because it was so shameful. On the other hand, Fenrir didn't care about it and simply said, yes. Lilitu is a night demon. They have the appearance of a beautiful woman. Succubus. Selena covered her mouth with her hands. She had never thought that the price of summoning Lilith would be summoning a succubus first. Fenrir's eyebrows twitched as he continued, they have talon-like nails, bat-like wings, or anything like a predator. They have an aura of death and decay. My summoners thought the same until he learned about this part. With a dumbfounded face, Selena said, "Why yes. I apologize for cutting you earlier. The succubus that I know is pretty similar to what you've described, except for the fact that it's the embodiment of lust instead of death. They have human appearance except for the additional bat wings and tail." Lilith had never been discovered in the past, so if she really managed to summon Lilith, she might have the chance to summon Lilith. "What item do I need to summon Lilith?" Selena asked, her eyes shining with expectation. Fenrir hesitated for a moment, still remembering what Nathan had said previously. Fenrir thought that the first example would guarantee summoning a Lilith, but Selena might not accept it. After all, Selena might have to get something related to infants or pregnancy. Hence, Nathan told him about the second option. It was either an item that was related to illness or death, or an animal with a similar appearance. "You need a bat." "A bat?" Selena gasped. "But if I only use a bat, I'll end up summoning a succubus. There are a lot of stories about summoners taking care of bats to call a beautiful succubus." "Just let me finish my words first." Fenrir raised his voice, starting to get annoyed. I am sorry." Selena's body was shaking. She was just about to get the information that she had desired this whole time, so it couldn't be helped to get this excited. What you need is not a healthy or good bat. In fact, what you need is the worst bat, a dead bat that has disease, and is probably in the process of decaying. Selena widened her eyes in shock. If one wanted to summon a succubus, they usually got a bat. The better its quality, the higher the succubus rank. Meanwhile, to summon a vampire, they needed to add blood to the offering. Only those with the quality could summon a vampire. That was why the Ashton family was a household with a long history. But for Lilith, Selena had to add one more thing. The bat that she sacrificed must be dead because of illness or disease. If its body had begun to decay, it would be even better. She might be questioned by summoning this creature. In fact, she might even be considered a failure if she ended up summoning a succubus instead of a vampire or Lilith. But if she didn't rely on this unorthodox method, she might not be able to summon a vampire progenitor. "I understand. I'll prepare it." Selena nodded. Nathan had never harmed her. If she somehow summoned this, she would definitely repay Nathan in the future. "And now it's your turn to answer my question. I have a list of names that I want to know whether they have been summoned to this world." 2 hours later. Fenrir had returned to Nathan's room as Nathan was writing down the item he wanted for the summoning ritual. "Have you gotten the information yet?" Nathan asked. "Yeah. Considering they are gods on their own terms, they should be pretty famous if they're summoned. There are several names that have been summoned to this world." Fenrir glanced at the requested item. "By the way, looking at you so knowledgeable about vampires, is there a divine beast related to vampires?" Nathan thought for a moment. "If we are talking about vampires, it should be a bat. There is a bat god. If I'm not wrong, its name is Kamasats. So you're going to summon this bat god? Why do you keep asking about divine beasts? Are you planning to jinx it? What am I going to do if I can only summon divine beasts?" Nathan let out a long sigh. "So you want to summon another god? I guess it's a female since you want a pole. A stripper god?" Fenrir read the item's description while making his guess. "Are you joking right now? It's not for a female god." "Not a female?" Fenrir gasped as he placed his paw on Nathan's forehead. "Are you fine? You're not sick? Maybe you should get some sleep first. I'm gonna beat you up if you continue." Nathan's hand was twitching. "So if not female, who is this god?" Fenrir asked. He. I'm his biggest fan. To me, he is the most fun, and I bet the journey is going to be more interesting with him joining us. And he is also a good fighter. Ho! A strong one, huh? I don't mind sparring with him. Fenrir grinned. Who is this guy? The great sage, heaven's equal. Nathan proudly declared his title. Fenrir was surprised by such an awe-inspiring title. I hope, MMFF. Nathan grabbed Fenrir's mouth as strong as possible, his forehead letting out a cold sweat. You stupid dog. Don't you dare to jinx it. I'm gonna beat you up today. Mistress. The young master is currently holding the ritual ceremony in his class, Alicia reported with a worried expression. If you want to check on him, do it secretly. Vivian sighed. But. Alicia gently rubbed her cheek, thinking this was not what she should do. It's fine. I will believe in him. I hope he likes that item. Alicia smiled wryly. Well, surely he likes it, right? You have even used your personal connection to ask for a quick order from Elder Randaf from the Blacksmith Association. The item he would have is the best among other candidates. I hope he can summon what he wants. If he summons another beast, it means he has confirmed that he will only be able to summon beasts for the rest of his life. After showing such a result, it can be said he is unique, and his worth will skyrocket afterwards. Ahaha. Alicia pointed at the door. In that case, I'll take my leave. Yeah. Tell me the result after he's done. Classroom. Jason had set up a magic circle for the summoning. It had a complicated pattern consisting of circles, stars, and wavy strokes. Unlike the first summoning ritual, the circle was expanded 3 times its size, covering almost the entire front part of the class. The color of the circles was red as if they were painted with blood. It looked like a normal drawing when it wasn't activated, but the students could sense an indescribable pressure faintly emitting from the circle. Jason stepped in the middle of the circle and said, "It seems that 6 of you have decided to drop out of the academy. Nevertheless, it won't change the fact that you're going with the summoning ritual. Each of you has written down the items you wish to have. And the school has purchased all of them. Outside the room, there are many staff that will help carry the items into the room. I will allow students who want to go on the ritual first. Since we only have a ritual scheduled for today, you are free to leave once you are done with the summoning. If any of you don't have questions, we will begin the ritual right away." The class was silent, no one raised their hand, whether it was to ask questions or volunteer. If no one is going to raise their hand, I'll be picking you one by one in alphabetical order. Jason raised his head, looking at the class. Teacher. I'm willing to do the ritual first. August raised his hand. August Reeves. Please come to the front. Jason nodded while exiting the circle. He checked the paper and said, "Your requested item is a red magician hat, correct?" "Yes, sir," August confirmed. Jason exited the room for a while before returning with a female staff. She brought an oversized pointed hat. As August described in his paper, the hat was red in color. August also took out a bag of dirt from his pocket. That's high-quality soil. Jason squinted his eyes, observing the soil. Yes. This soil is imported directly from the Holy Kingdom. It is known as the world's most fertile soil. August smiled. I see. I know what you are going to summon. Jason nodded in understanding. Feel free to check the item first before proceeding to the summoning. There is no need to check. The Phyrexia Academy has been doing this for so long, and there has been no question about its quality. I'll trust the Academy and begin the ritual immediately. Jason couldn't help but cross his arms, as August worded it in such a way that it would be the Academy's fault if he failed to summon what he wanted. However, he chose not to say anything. August smiled as he poured the dirt on the center before putting the witch hat on top of it. August then channeled his Aina into the summoning circle. The circle gradually emitted a gentle blue light, illuminating the room. O miracle of the world, divine being of summoning, please use my body as the beacon and grant the beloved being your passage. By my name, August Reeves, heed my call and come forth to this world, the great being of another world. The light from the magic circle shone brightly. The witch hat and the soil were enveloped by this blue light and gradually fused together before forming a humanoid shape. The size was only 1 meter, 3.2 feet, tall, but a third of its height was actually the pointed hat that was used as a sacrifice. The figure seemed to have a beard and wand with a circle head. The figure gradually manifested in this world. The process took several minutes. As the light gradually diminished, the figure showed its true appearance. It was an old man. Its body was shorter than a dwarf, but that red hat symbolized its true identity. Gnome? Nathan widened his eyes. Is that a gnome? A gnome is often said to be an earth spirit. They are the guardians of mines containing precious treasures. Yeah. As someone from the blacksmith guild, this gnome will definitely benefit him a lot. Even as a fighter, the gnome is known for their capability of using earth spells, controlling the rock and soil. With the dwarf's combat power and August's ability, it wouldn't be weird if August had become a one-man army. After all, he and the dwarf can fight in the front while the gnome supports him from behind. The gnome can also help him find treasures. Look at the gnome's face. It looks so old. No way. The older the gnome is, the more powerful they are. Looking at his age, that old man must be a high-ranking gnome. The students were in shock since August had put in a strong performance from the start. It made them feel inferior if they came after August. I am August. Nice to meet you. August dropped to one knee while extending his hand. The gnome didn't like being observed by all these people, but he still took August's hand before disappearing into thin air. August smiled as if he had expected this, but the people had definitely seen the result. August turned around, glancing at Rudius as if indirectly telling him to compare the results. The people gulped down as if they could sense the spark between their eyes. Rudius squinted his eyes, feeling challenged. There was no way he would back down from the provocation. He immediately stood up with a calm expression, planning to show who was the boss. You better watch closely. Rudius harumphed. Rudius vidi liaistian. You are requesting an axe. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Rudius nodded to Jason. This time, a big man came into the class because of the size of the axe that Rudius requested. It was twice as tall as Rudius himself. The man put the axe in the middle, since Rudius couldn't move it by himself. Rudius nodded to the man, acknowledging the man's effort. Just like August, Rudius took out a bull's horn, but this black horn was thicker and longer than a normal bull. The underworld bull, huh? Yes. The bull has been contaminated by the aura of death in the south. I'll be using this as the second catalyst. Rudius smiled as he put the horn on top of the axe. O miracle of the world, divine being of summoning, please use my body as the beacon and grant the beloved being your passage. By my name, Rudius vidi liaistian, heed my call and come forth to this world, the great being of another world. The light enveloped the catalysts like what had happened previously, but it suddenly changed as the light gradually turned black with a trace of red, as if it were exuding its bloodlust. The Aina flickered in the air as people felt their hair rise, and the glass started to shake. Jason furrowed his eyebrows, ready to use his own power to neutralize it if necessary. The red and black light gradually shaped a giant humanoid figure with an enormous pair of horns. Its height was comparable to the Cyclops Rudius had, almost touching the top of the ceiling. However, all of them could feel the immeasurable pressure it was exuding. Come forth. Rudius smirked as the light disappeared, revealing the demon's true form. A minotaur. But this is not a normal minotaur. It's exuding such a weird pressure. The students gasped, feeling scared just by looking at its body. Moo. The minotaur let out a roar. With a wave of his hand, Jason used his Aina to form a half-spherical barrier that blocked the shock wave, not wanting the windows to shatter. However, the students could definitely feel the strength the bull had. As expected of His Highness. To think that he is able to summon this powerful minotaur. August's gnome is good, but the minotaur is simply too powerful. Even Nathan was astounded by the minotaur's appearance, but for a different reason. When he saw those bloodshot eyes, Nathan remembered a certain myth. That figure had a similar feature to the minotaur but much more sinister. He couldn't help but mutter, "What's next? Is he gonna summon the Baphomet?" Jason didn't care about the minotaur. That is enough. You may recall your familiar. I hope that you don't interrupt with the ritual. My apologies. Rudius politely nodded as the minotaur disappeared. While walking back to his seat, Rudius looked at August with a smug smile. Jason maintained his composure and asked, "All right. Anyone would like to try?" After such a display from Rudius, no one really wanted to try since they knew they would be compared to the minotaur. As Jason was about to call a name, a student suddenly raised his hand. "Teacher. I'm willing to try." "Sure. Go on." "Landark. He is going to test his might against those two monsters." Landark stood up and took a glimpse of Nathan before harumphing. Nathan tilted his head in confusion, asking inwardly, "Did I offend him or something?" "You are asking for a great wolf cub, right?" Jason asked. "Yes, teacher." The female staff returned, bringing a box that contained a wolf cub corpse. It seemed that they killed this cub not long ago. Landark took out a crescent moon pendant and put it on the wolf cub. Just like the others, he chanted the summoning call. Is he going to summon a werewolf? The werewolf is strong, but their strength depends on the items sacrificed for them. I guess we'll be able to see the famous werewolf. Landark's family is quite known for their hunter-type familiars. The students looked more relaxed, thinking that Landark was still within a realm they could reach, unlike August and Rudius. Because the sacrifice wasn't something special, the Aina didn't produce any amazing phenomena. It calmly formed a werewolf figure. However, the moment the light disappeared, it actually burst into all directions, as if the werewolf had control over the light and deliberately dispersed it. What? Did the werewolf just do that? Look at the werewolf's appearance. The werewolf had bulging muscles and sharp claws. Its gaze was cold like that of a predator, and there were two huge scars, one running from its forehead all the way to its right cheek, while the other stretched from the right shoulder to the stomach. Just from its appearance, they knew the werewolf had undergone hundreds of battles. Amazing. It might not be as strong as the gnome or the minotaur, but this werewolf is very strong. As expected, I guess there is a reason he is one of the top students in the class. Indeed. He is able to summon a werewolf at that level without an epic sacrifice. If he has won, I'm afraid the gap between him and those two won't be that far. Still, I wonder how strong that werewolf is compared to that wolf. Everyone immediately knew which wolf being mentioned in the conversation. It was obviously Fenrir. Ha 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 ha. I have got a werewolf. A high-ranking werewolf. Did you see that? Landark pointed at Nathan. Nathan pointed at himself while looking back. He thought that the previous result had shown that he was a competent summoner, but why would someone provoke him out of nowhere? Seeing the confusion on Nathan's face, Selena whispered from a distance. He is Landark Woodell. He got 6th place last trip. 6th? Ah. Nathan finally understood why he had been provoking him this whole time. Yes. He thought you were lucky, and he was the one who deserved to get the 5th place. But because of you, he couldn't get that spot. Basically, he is just being a sore loser. I can understand that. I will probably act the same if you are taken by someone else. Just kidding. Nathan chuckled. Selena widened her eyes dumbfoundedly as if her brain had just stopped working for a second, not expecting Nathan to say those words. Meanwhile, Nathan sighed at Landark's action. He understood why he was a sore loser, but he should have done that to the current 5th place, not him. He didn't know why he targeted him personally, but there was one possible reason in his mind. Landark's bloodline focused on summoning werewolves, so he thought it was easy to pick a fight with him, since Fenrir was just a normal wolf. What are you sighing? I'm challenging you to a summoner's war. Landark pointed at Nathan. What can you even offer anyway? You must have used up a lot of resources and all of your cores, so you have nothing to offer. Nathan shook his head helplessly. Besides, the atmosphere suddenly turned tranquil for a second, as if the heavens wanted to hear it as well. A deep continued Nathan's words. What can a mere imitation do against me? Fenrir suddenly appeared next to Nathan. His appearance was already different from a month ago. The werewolf widened his eyes, his body shivering in fear. When he looked at Fenrir, his bloodline was instinctively telling him to kneel. It was hard to even resist the urge to look down. Only the werewolf, who shared a similar bloodline, would be able to see Fenrir's true nature. It was as if there was a monstrous wolf standing behind him, looking down at him with an absolute gaze. It felt like he couldn't say no if the other party wanted to devour him. Bang! That loud noise shattered the uneasiness in the room, as they all saw the werewolf was actually kneeling, its body convulsing uncontrollably, as if he were fearing for his life. Kneel before the king, said Nathan with a smug smile on his face. What werewolf? He was nothing compared to the king of wolves. Everyone couldn't help but widen his eyes. Some even dropped their jaws. Did they see it right? The werewolf was actually kneeling. Selena heard Nathan's mumble and couldn't help but repeat it in a low voice. Kneel before the king. Selena suddenly shuddered in realization. That was right. Fenrir knew all those awe-inspiring figures, so there was no way he was ordinary. But the big problem was how Nathan could actually summon such a beast in the beginning. And Fenrir didn't seem to be that strong either. Is it because Fenrir is a beast, not a humanoid, that he is able to change his situation according to his needs? Fenrir is matching up his strength to Nathan's. While Selena was trying to figure out the reason behind the summoning, the others were more focused on Fenrir's strength. August clenched his fists. Even though the werewolf wasn't stronger than his gnome, he would still have to fight against him pretty seriously. Yet Fenrir could suppress the werewolf by simply existing. How could this be? Meanwhile, Rudius approached it in a different way. He thought, this beast seems to be much stronger than he currently seems, especially since it has grown bigger. This is like a suppression of bloodline. There is a king who has a draconian as his familiar, but what if there is a true dragon? Will he receive the same backlash? Some stronger bloodline might be able to resist the suppression, but most of them will kneel like that werewolf. If that's the case, no one can use a werewolf to fight against him. No. Family that have the tradition to summon werewolves will either perceive him as a threat to their stability, or an opportunity to enhance their own bloodline. Rudius' expression turned solemn, contemplating it carefully. The talent that piques the interest of the forest queen Vivian. Jason let out a long sigh. The suppression had confirmed that the next familiar Nathan summoned would decide his future. Nathan stood up and walked to the front with Fenrir, finding Landark already on the floor. His face was pale as he crawled backward, trying to get away as far as possible. Nathan's gaze was cold, as though he were looking down on an ant. The werewolf didn't even dare to look at Fenrir. Are you going to accept the summoner's war? Jason asked. Looking at this guy who was about to piss off his pants, Nathan let out a helpless sigh while saying, it has no meaning. I prefer to summon my second familiar aside. Jason nodded. Landark wouldn't be able to put much for the bet, and this experience would definitely cast a shadow in his heart. There was simply no meaning in fighting him. In fact, Nathan would be seen as generous for not accepting the challenge. However, he also hoped that Nathan knew what was the line between generous and pushover. Jason waved his hand, levitating Landark back to his seat purely with his Aina. Fenrir said to the werewolf, go back. The werewolf immediately disappeared into thin air, cutting his own connection directly. With such a showcase of power, the entire class knew that there was one more person they could definitely offend. It was Nathan. Raven bit his lips. The last time he observed Nathan, he wasn't supposed to be this strong. If his father actually heard this, he might personally come to the academy to resolve the problem. And to think that someone who could pressure his father was none other than his own classmate, a farmer on top of that. Rudius rubbed his chin. There are a lot of cases where becoming a summoner changes people's fate. It's not about changing halfway and becoming a successful person. It's going all the way to the top. If his second familiar has a similar ability like that wolf, it means that there is a new summoner that people have to keep an eye on. His ability is so unique that people are going to get him. And he will be at the center of the storm. Will he be able to survive? No. I don't think that's a question he could answer by himself. Rudius tapped the table a few times before a smile appeared on his face, as though he had thought of a plan. Nathan nodded to Jason, signaling to him he was ready for the summoning. Just like other students, Jason asked for confirmation. The item you request is a pole, right? Yes. The assistant immediately brought upon a jade box. She opened it for him, showing a majestic staff. It was 3 meters, 9.8 feet, long. The tip was covered in gold, while the shaft was made of hard red steel. Without anyone realizing it, Fenrir was already sitting next to Jason, watching Nathan quietly. However, he couldn't help but furrow his eyebrows when he saw the staff, as though he recognized something weird from within. Why do I sense something familiar coming from that staff? Meanwhile, Nathan was completely absorbed in the preparation for his summoning ritual. I have prepared an imitation of Ruijingu Bang. Besides, there are no beasts wielding a staff, so I can rule out the possibility of summoning a divine beast. My only target is Sun Wukong. And if I add this... Nathan was a bit skeptical about using this fruit, since he didn't think the other party had eaten it in his legend. However, considering Sun Wukong's identity, he obviously had to add a banana. The students looked shocked because they thought Nathan would bring out an additional powerful item, but it turned out he got a banana, a normal banana. O miracle of the world, divine being of summoning, please use my body as the beacon and grant the beloved being your passage. By my name, Nathan, heed my call and come forth to this world, the great being of another world. Nathan chanted as the magic circle once again illuminated the room. He. Come, the mighty Sun Wukong. You will come, right? Right? Chapter 46 Nathan's second familiar. Unlike Rudius, who created turbulence, or August, who had a tranquil summoning, Nathan actually caused a temperature drop. The stick and banana floated into the air, with the banana specifically moving to the tip of the staff and expanding. Nathan widened his eyes in shock. Wait. Why is the banana expanding? It's not supposed to be about the shape. Do I have to bring a monkey instead? A banana should be enough, but why is it expanding as if it's... Nathan suddenly gulped down when he took another look at the shape the light formed. It was like a slap directly on his face from the great sage himself. Sun Wukong has a rebellious nature, unyielding spirit, and refusal to submit to authority. Nathan gasped. He might have miscalculated one thing. Even if he could summon Sun Wukong had to agree to respond to his call. In other words, Sun Wukong still had the option to refuse, which in fact aligned with his nature, as described in his legend. Yes, Nathan had miscalculated how accurate the legend could be in the summoning. Is it because there is someone who has summoned Sun Wukong in this world? Nathan muttered inwardly. He didn't want to believe that he failed to get his biggest idol, Sun Wukong, but it was because of his personality that he idolized him. There were mixed feelings. On the one hand, he was disappointed that he couldn't get Sun Wukong. On the other hand, he couldn't find fault in him. Instead of Ruijingu Bang, the banana was stretched to the limit, forming a long shaft sitting on top of the tip of the staff. From the tips of the shaft dropped a small circle. It was hard to see, but there were thin lines connecting the tips, which made Nathan sure what item was reflected before him. No way. This is a scale. No. Is this the scale that weighs your heart? Nathan didn't know whether he should laugh or cry. The scale gradually fell to the ground and changed its shape once again, confirming the identity of the one he summoned. Ankh. Nathan closed his eyes, knowing the identity of the familiar he summoned. There was nothing he could do that would change the outcome. Last but not least, the Ankh formed a dog-shaped figure. It seems that you have summoned me, said the light as it disappeared, revealing the true appearance of the beasts. It wasn't a dog. It was a black jackal. The jackal was slightly smaller than Fenrir's current form, but it actually sent off a dreadful feeling. Looking at his eyes made the students feel like their souls were being sucked away. August and Rudius were leaning forward in disbelief. Compared to them, Nathan's summoning actually produced a much more impactful phenomenon. In addition, it confirmed Nathan's uniqueness. Nathan could only summon beasts, not humanoid creatures. And with such a phenomenon, they knew that this second beast was also extraordinary. Provoking him without learning about the second familiar would be suicide. Yes. I'm the one who summons you. Nathan stepped forward, while looking at the black jackal's status. Name, Anubis. Level, 35. Race, Jackal. Quality, Basic, High. It seemed that he had summoned him not at level 1 due to the amount of Aina. It also confirmed that their power would be unlocked, depending on how much Aina Nathan sacrificed. Anubis is the god of death. He is supposed to be a mun with a jackal head, but he is also often represented as a mun with the full body of a black jackal. I thought that Sun Wukong would be a perfect target. Not only is he my idol, but he is often depicted as a monkey. Then again, there is another verse that says Anubis is a human with a jackal head. Since he comes in a complete beast form, I guess a monkey is still humanoid enough. However, I have to think about their characteristics as well. Sun Wukong has rebelled against the Emperor of Heaven, so he wouldn't receive my call. And even if I summon him, I might not be able to control him. Anubis is different. He oversaw mummification, weighed souls, guided the dead into the afterlife, defended against chaos, and punished those who violated the tombs. This world might be interesting for him, since he could see a different life cycle with his own eyes. Anubis walked toward Nathan and said, "There are probably a lot of things we need to discuss, but I'll take care of you." Nathan smiled. "Thank you." Anubis could return by himself, unlike Fenrir. Then again, Fenrir told him that he received a portion of knowledge when coming to this new world. Anubis must have gotten the knowledge about summoning, as Nathan had more knowledge compared to when he first came to this world. Little did they know, Alicia was observing the entire ritual with her own eyes. She couldn't help but gasp, thinking, young master really summoned another beast, and it didn't seem to be an ordinary beast. The mistress is right. Young master is just unique. I have to report this to the mistress right away, so that the young master won't be snatched by anyone. n/o/vel/b/jn.c/om. Still, his second familiar, why did it give off the feeling of the South? Alicia shook her head. She could ask it later after reporting about the second familiar. Nathan, on the other hand, returned to his seat under the shocked gazes. He acted as if he hadn't done something special before noticing that Fenrir hadn't been recalled. Nathan tried to disconnect the link between them before he got punished, but before Fenrir was gone, the latter came to a realization. Ah! That familiar feeling. It gave the same feeling from Helheim. Don't tell me. Someone actually mixed an item contaminated with death, he thought before disappearing. Blacksmith Guild. An elder dwarf was hammering a new weapon as another dwarf entered his workshop. Oi! The forest queen expressed her satisfaction with that staff. Is that so? Well, she saved me in the past, so with this, the debt has been repaid. I have even used my precious material from the land of death in the south. The elder dwarf smiled proudly. Congratulations. It seems that you have summoned yet another beast familiar, said Selena. Thank you. Nathan nodded. While Anubis wasn't his original target, it didn't change the fact that Anubis could be considered a divine beast. It also confirmed that Nathan could only summon a divine beast. This way, he shouldn't have any expectation of summoning other familiars like vampire progenitor, archangels, and other humanoid familiars. The people in this world would be the ones having the chance to summon them. If he added the aliens into the mix, it felt like he would be the third faction because of his uniqueness. No one had ever summoned divine beings from their first familiar, let alone divine beasts. With his soul contract, he might become a one-man army. Of course, it would only happen in the future. He was still struggling against several proto-class aliens, so he couldn't really brag about his strength. Getting stronger. While it's true that soul contract will allow me to have an ability from my familiar, this is just me taking their ability. I need to learn the techniques from this world as well. Even though the burden wouldn't be too much if he had a lot of familiars, the amount of Aina in his body didn't allow him to summon those many divine beasts right now. Still, it would be nice to have 10 different abilities from 10 different familiars. Nathan glanced at Selena, asking, "Why don't you try summoning your second familiar right now?" Selena's body shuddered as she looked away. Ahem. She didn't want to admit she was scared to find herself failing to summon Lilitu. Nathan didn't say anything to respect her decision, but Selena changed her mind. All right. I will be next. Selena stood up. Aha. Nathan was startled but still said good luck. He felt Selena had become easier to talk to. While she still rarely showed her emotion, Nathan could feel that she had opened up to him. Selena, on the other hand, used Nathan as a role model. As she walked down the stairs, she thought, I might have the will to endure and try, but I guess I should learn from him. While he is only a farmer, he shows his courage. While they look reckless on the surface, they are a well-calculated move. If I have a bit of his courage, I will definitely be able to make all my wishes a reality. Selena took a deep breath as she stopped right in front of the summoning circle. Selena Ashton. Your requested item is... Jason scratched the back of his head, hesitant to say it. A decaying bat corpse with disease. Yes, teacher. Are you sure about this? I'm sure. Selena nodded with a solemn expression. All right then. Jason signaled the assistant to bring forth the item. The students were obviously weirded out when they heard about the requested item. A decaying corpse. With disease on top of that. They never thought that Selena would ask for such a disgusting item. They could understand if she wanted a bat, since she would be summoning a vampire. However, they were wrong. Those who understood Selena's lineage couldn't help but furrow their eyebrows, wondering what Selena was trying to do. As they were whispering to each other, the staff came with a box. She was wearing a mask and gloves to avoid getting afflicted by the disease. She used a tongue to place the bat in the center of the magic circle, showing everyone the true appearance of the bat. People wanted to puke after they saw the bat. Half of its body had decayed, releasing a foul smell that made everyone, including Nathan, close their noses. The assistant even moved to the window and summoned a fire spirit that would produce a flame to reduce everything she used to nothing. No one wanted to get a disease after all. Selena smelled the foul odor, but she somehow remained calm, as if she had gotten used to such a disgusting, rotten smell. As soon as everyone left the summoning circle, she extended her hand while chanting the same thing. By my name, Selena Ashton, heed my call and come forth to this world, the great being of another world. The summoning was a success. The bat was enveloped by the light produced by the magic circle, isolating the bat as well as its foul smell. Selena's breathing became rough because her future was riding in this one summon. The light gradually shaped into a humanoid form, producing no phenomenon like the others. Is that? As expected. It's a vampire. But why did she use a decaying bat? Right? They could clearly see the bat wings, so it was surely a vampire. Selena clenched her hands into fists, praying to the vampire goddess to bless her with Lilitu. Wait. What is that? Isn't it supposed to be red? Is the light getting corroded? Suddenly, the light that enveloped the figure started turning black and disappeared into thin air, as if it were being corroded by the darkness itself. Selena covered her hands in surprise. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The woman that appeared from within the light indeed had a pair of bat wings, but unlike the normal wings, their wings were burned and tattered. There were 2 tails tipped with poisonous stingers that were each 2 meters, 6.4 feet, long. Her hands were long and sharp, like talons, and their feet were similar to hooves. Her appearance matched the description Fenrir gave, and Selena's eyes confirmed her race. Sasha, at your service. She politely bowed to her. What is that? It's not a vampire. A demon? But she is beautiful like a succubus. The students were speechless because they had never seen someone like her before. Even Jason couldn't contain his surprise. A new species? People gulped when Jason confirmed their suspicion. While her impact wasn't comparable to that of Nathan and the others, she actually summoned a new race. Tears were forming in the corner of Selena's eyes. There was no word to describe the joy in her heart. After all, this familiar had proven that the vampire progenitor that could change her fate existed. Aha! Nathan was walking to the class when he suddenly met Selena at the junction. Yo! Despite achieving the result you want, your complexion doesn't look good. Selena had bags under her red eyes. The reason was that she was too excited to sleep because this was the first time she found hope. Her hope to turn her life around. It's nothing. Selena shook her head helplessly. And I should congratulate you as well. You will be famous soon. Famous? Well, that's true. I don't know how I will handle that. Nathan knew that if he became famous, every bit of his action would be seen and interpreted. It was tiring to be famous. At the same time, it would be annoying if he wasn't. There were simply too many benefits one could get if they were famous. Besides, aren't you going to be popular as well? I've heard that it's a big deal to summon a new race. Nathan asked. It's true. My family will probably hear it soon. Selena thought for a moment. Although it will be for a while, I can teach you about politics and how to act against them. I've been thinking about how to repay you. It's not much, but I believe I have some knowledge and experience that can help you. After all, you'll be much more famous than me. What are you talking about? When I come here, I overhear people talking about you. Nathan shrugged. Selena shook her head helplessly. My name will probably be heard by many, but your name will resound across the entire world. After all, you have confirmed that you are the only person who can summon a non-humanoid familiar. Nathan agreed, but they would hear the news a bit later. Even if the students in his class sent the letter to their family, he should still have some peaceful time. That was why he had to get stronger quickly. While they were talking, a group of students and teachers suddenly approached them, specifically Selena. Selena Ashton. Congratulations on summoning a new race. Your achievement will definitely surpass that of your ancestors. I can be your teacher and make sure you achieve it. Selena Ashton. I'm from the Blood Research Club. Would you like to see our club? Selena. Selena. The people were flocking around Selena and separating her from Nathan. Nathan took a step back, getting overwhelmed by their enthusiasm. To his surprise, there was no one actually coming to him. It was as if his unique summon didn't pique their interest. It contradicted what Selena said earlier about his name resounding across the entire world. While he didn't expect much, it was still outside his calculation that not a single person approached him. I guess I have become a bit too proud. I've forgotten that I'm here to survive, not caring about this fame or whatever. As long as I'm strong, fame will follow. That's all. Nathan thought while scratching the back of his head. Considering Selena was occupied by all these people, Nathan just went straight to the class, leaving her behind. Of course, he made sure to signal to her that he would go ahead. Selena was suspicious and a bit annoyed, wondering why no one approached Nathan. She could think of several possibilities, such as people underestimating his beasts. It was unknown, so they had to approach him carefully. However, the truth was much more bizarre. In the corridor, a bit far from their current location, there were over 10 teachers kneeling on the floor. Before them stood Vivian. Her expression was dark and her eyes were exuding bloodlust. While crossing her arms, she asked coldly, "What are you thinking? You actually dare to approach my disciple?" The teachers gulped down, not expecting that the unique summoner was actually Vivian's disciple. One teacher suddenly rose from the floor and shouted, "This is not fair. Do you think just because you are the vice principal, no teacher is allowed to approach that kid? No. You might threaten him to accept you as his teacher." "That's right. That's right. You are using your position to suppress us. You have only claimed him to be your disciple, but you haven't made him your official disciple yet. That's why no one knows about it." Another teacher followed suit. "We'll have to complain to the principal." As Vivian was about to clarify, Jason's voice echoed from behind. "Vice Principal Vivian hasn't misused her power in the slightest. I was there when she asked him to be her disciple, the time before the result of the admission test was published." "What?" The teachers looked dumbfounded. Vivian harumphed. "Humph. Unlike you pathetic oldies who were waiting to confirm his talent, I didn't care about it when I made him my disciple. If you are going to steal him from me, I will fight you, even if I have to fight the principal." The teachers couldn't say anything while Jason casually walked past them, saying, "In that case, please excuse me. I'll have to go to class. We are about to get into the second event after all." Nathan didn't realize that the reason no one approached him was not because he wasn't famous, but because Vivian stopped them. Nathan was simply going to his class, a little sad. He noticed that people with good familiars like August and Rudius were approached by some people as well. Unfortunately, the only thing he could do was sigh while erasing his jealousy. He was still 16 years old after all, the same age as before he transmigrated. It seemed that Selena managed to slip away thanks to Jason, who entered the class after her. Despite handling so many people, Selena's expression remained unchanged. Jason, on the other hand, wrote down several things on the board before saying, "All right. Listen up. I know that you have been unsatisfied with your performance this whole time. And you might think that people at the top have it easy because they keep getting resources. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. That's why there will be a battle royale for the Summoners' War. This is an event that allows you to earn points to exchange for cores, so the top students won't earn all the glory. Of course, you have to perform well to get the points as well. To prepare you for the battle royale, we will conduct special training for your path." Bonus chapter. Magician Hall. Wow! This place is so huge. How big is this? I think it's around the size of a soccer field. Nathan muttered while looking around. He noticed a lot of straw dummies planted on the opposite side of the field, which seemed to be their target. This time, Jason wasn't their teacher. In fact, there were only 12 students coming to this hall. After all, several minutes ago, Jason said, there are 4 paths that are recognized by the world. They are Combat Department, Magic Department, Command Department, and Research Department. For those who want to learn how to manipulate their Aina while using their weapons, you should visit the Combat Department. For those who would like to focus on supporting your familiars from a distance by taking advantage of the control of your Aina, this will be your place. Meanwhile, the Command Department focuses on strengthening your familiars, and you'll be playing the role of a commander on the battlefield. Last but not least, the research department often looks down because they sound like they are not learning how to fight. However, you are wrong. For the research department, you are not only focusing on your familiar's needs, but also other things that can boost your power in a battle, such as potions. Hence, for the next 2 weeks, you may visit all these 4 departments and choose to learn how you would like to fight. You'll be given freedom to choose, but at the same time, it'll be your fault if you somehow choose to spend your time wrong. The teachers will guide you and provide feedback, but it'll depend on you to decide. That's all for me. The respective teachers will give you the rest of the explanations. Jason said all those words and just sent them straight to their respective departments. Of course, Nathan chose this department for a certain purpose. The teacher was an elderly man with a big witch hat, and a wooden staff with a big red gem in its head. He welcomed them with a gentle smile. Welcome, students. I'm the teacher of the magic department, Donovan. I'm sure that you have learned how to manipulate your ana to strengthen your body. This is nothing but the next step. This time, you are going to control this ana to go outside your body. The teacher raised his right hand while saying, by releasing your ana outside, you can produce a force similar to the ability that your familiar uses. N/O/vel/b/jn.c/om. This is an example. I'm going to release my ana while waving my hand, redirecting them to my surroundings. As he explained, he waved his right hand from left to right. The ana burst out of his hand, and produced a shockwave that hit the ground right in front of him. A loud bam shook the field, leaving a small crater on the ground. That's... The students looked shocked. The teacher smiled. This is just an example. Depending on how you control your ana, it can become a barrier, a sturdy shield, or a destructive force. Think about how you are planning to use your ana. I'll be teaching the basics and guiding you one by one. For now, you are to practice those 3 basic things that you need to learn, which will be your foundation for controlling ana. I hope that you are able to maintain a barrier for 5 minutes, create a sturdy shield that can withstand an attack from a juvenile class alien, and use a destructive force that can hit those dummies from a distance. Is there any question? Nathan couldn't help but raise his head. This was a question that had been bothering his mind since yesterday. Teacher, can you actually use the same thing as your familiar? For example, can you create a blood tornado of your own? The teacher was amused by the question, not expecting it to be the first question. A good question. The simple answer is yes. However, if you're going to ask me the method, then I'm afraid you need to research it yourself in the library. As a teacher, I'm not going to tell you how to handle the complicated stuff, which might seem cool now but will definitely harm your basics. As your teacher, I suggest you learn these basics first because it'll also help you do such a complicated thing later in the future. Nathan nodded his head. He was happy that it was actually possible to use his familiar's powers. However, it would garner unnecessary attention if he asked for their power right now, so Nathan chose to solidify his basics first, even if it was boring. Besides, he already knew what he wanted from this class. Teacher, can we actually use it in a way that we like or are comfortable with? For example, rather than a shield, can we form a weapon instead? The one asking the teacher was, surprisingly, the number 5th in the previous trip, David Livester. He made an impression on Nathan's mind since he was similar to his teacher. His first familiar was a harpy, and the second familiar was a dryad. All of them were creatures from the forest. The teacher nodded his head. Of course, you can do it however you want. The goal remains the same. Even if you manage to shape your shield like a sword, that sword has to withstand the same amount of pressure. And for this class, you may summon your familiars. After all, your familiars' opinions are important since you guys are going to fight together. Knowing their habits and what you should and shouldn't do will definitely help you in battle. There are a lot of practice dummies out there. So feel free to go to your own dummies. As soon as the teacher gave the permission, the students began to split up. Nathan chose the dummy on the far right corner to avoid anyone. But for some reason, David Livester ended up choosing the spot right next to him. With a baffled expression, Nathan couldn't help but think, "What are you doing here? This feels like pissing in an empty restroom, and there is another person that somehow chooses the bowl next to you despite there being a lot of options." Starting from today, for every 100 PS, I'll be uploading one bonus chapter. Combat Department. August took a step with his right foot and leaned his upper body forward. His hand gripped the sword's handle tightly. When he was about to move, his eyes glinted as he drew his sword as fast as possible. The moment it was unleashed, the ana that had been stored inside the scabbard flew out, extending the blade in a crescent shape and hitting the dummy that was 5 meters, 16.4 feet, away. Unable to withstand the impact, the dummy was sliced into two as the upper part slid down to the ground. Phew! August exhaled in relief. It seemed that he had succeeded. Congratulations, August. You have managed to master this one swing. You can start learning other moves, which will become the foundation of your swordsmanship. Another student came in August. August didn't say anything. Instead, he was staring at Landark, who was defeated by Nathan previously. "Rah!" He roared while waving his right hand vertically and his left hand horizontally. His ana extended his claws, similar to Nathan's deadly claw, and sliced the practice dummy into pieces. However, after that arrogant challenge, other students didn't think highly of him anymore. NOVLB //JNN. Landark must be frustrated. Even if he does well in this class, he won't be able to defeat Nathan. Right? In the end, his werewolf will be suppressed by Nathan's wolf if they fight in Summoner's War. He better not meet Nathan during the event since it will be game over for him. I know, right? Landark could only grit his teeth, because that was true. He just used that frustration to increase his strength even further. Command Department. Go forth. Rudius waved his hand, shooting out ana. It produced a light trail that curled toward the practice dummy before bouncing to another dummy. The Minotaur followed the trail and slashed the dummy with his axe before spinning his body to change direction and head to the second dummy. The movement of the Minotaur became even more solid and faster, allowing the Minotaur to cut down the dummies in just 3 seconds. As expected of His Highness. He is going to dominate the next event again. Yeah. That Minotaur has become even stronger. His Highness control is also allowing the Minotaur to perform complicated stuff smoothly. He is like a maestro on a battlefield. I wonder how the event will turn out. How about August, Selena, or even that farmer, Nathan? I don't know. Teacher Jason hasn't told us all the details about the event, but my older brother did it 3 years ago. He said anything could happen in that battle royale, since no one is stopping you from forming a team. For real. If that's the case, can't we just group up and take down the top students? The students were discussing other things instead of training like Rudius. The latter didn't say anything to them, fully aware that they were here just to fawn over him. Research Department. Because of the new race, Selena had to choose this department instead of her original pick, which was the magic department. The Lilitu, Sasha, was sitting in front of her. Selena picked up an herb with a circular shape, as if asking her about this herb. Sasha shook her head. It's not compatible. Selena then brought a bag of blood and a mouse. Sasha looked at the blood bag for a few seconds before her focus was disrupted by the mouse. She touched the mouse with the tip of her nail. Nothing happened at first, but 2 seconds later, the mouse was suddenly convulsing uncontrollably before dying. After that, she touched the blood bag, puncturing it with her finger. As a result, there were multiple black dots appearing on the blood, and it somehow coagulated after a bit more time. Selena watched the result with a dumbfounded face before taking note of everything. The point of the research department was to figure out the specific race, allowing them to get stronger. It could be said that they were making the familiar evolve one step at a time. Selena had to fully study Sasha so that she knew what to do in a battle. Her focus was disrupted the moment she overheard the students not far from her. It's weird that Nathan is not here. I know, right? He is the only summoner who has beasts as his familiars. Surely he should understand them, right? Indeed. If he comes here, he will know what his familiar is all about. In fact, he might be able to discover why he is the only one having such an ability. I bet that there are a lot of teachers wanting to dissect him. Ha ha ha. Selena's eyebrows twitched. The longer she listened to them, the colder her expression became. At one point, bloodlust escaped from her eyes, but it was quickly dispelled by Sasha, who waved her hand in front of Selena, as if telling her not to mind their words. Selena scratched the back of her head. She didn't know why their conversation annoyed her so much. She knew Nathan's personality and power. All those words and actions made her feel indebted to him. Even Sasha was proof of his kindness. Fenrir might be the one telling her about the Lilitu, but she doubted Fenrir would tell her about it unless Nathan begged him. Selena harumphed quietly and just focused on her own research. Magic department. Nathan was sitting with his familiars. Isn't that guy staring at us a lot? Fenrir asked casually. Who knows? He might be curious but not have the courage to ask, or maybe he is just here to observe us. Either way, it doesn't change my plan here. Nathan shrugged. Oh? You already know what you want? Anubis asked. Yep. I'm planning to learn long-range combat with my Aina. Nathan nodded with a smile. The moment I saw the power, I knew what I wanted. And that is? Others have known summoners and Aina before they came to the academy. While I can learn it slowly, I still need to catch up. As a result, I can't pour too much time into this training, which is why I think of simplifying what I want to get double the result with half the effort. Are you going to spew another bullshit? Fenrir's eyebrows twitched, remembering how Vivian became his teacher after eating those bullshits. Ha ha ha, nope. There is something that I don't need to learn as much as other weapons like a sword, a spear, or a bow, but it can become more deadly than those weapons. Nathan had a cheeky grin on his face. The weapon that dominated my current era. Ho! What is that, summoner? Anubis had taken an interest in this unique summoner, who somehow captivated Fenrir. Nathan raised his finger and said, gun. Gun? Anubis and Fenrir tilted their heads. They knew swords, spears, clubs, or even bows, but this was the first time they heard guns. Indeed. I'll be controlling my Aina like a bullet and shooting it like firing a gun. In your era, there were no guns since they were only developed a few hundred years before I was born. Nathan crossed his arms while raising his head proudly. And what could it do? I don't really understand. Well, I'll still learn how to make multiple bullets and use it in a different way, but for now, I will simplify the process by using it like a gun. Of course, the barrier and the shield are also going to be useful in combat, explained Nathan. Indeed. The barrier will be useful against weak attacks. It can also be used to create a barrier that isolates a certain space. You will definitely use it if you want to use my power. Anubis nodded in agreement. His power was related to death, so they really needed an isolated place to work on it. Heh. Shield is more useful. Fenrir snorted. Are you picking a fight, you stupid dog? Anubis gnashed his teeth. Fenrir harumphed. I'll be the bigger person and forgive you. Anubis wanted to attack him, but Fenrir continued, anyway, it seems that this gun you're talking about is a ranged weapon. For close combat, you have your sloppy martial arts and those gloves. You can also attack them from a distance with this new weapon. It should allow you to be more flexible. Anubis couldn't help but agree with Fenrir's opinion. But learning everything will take too much time. I guess that's why you want to simplify it. Yes. I guess it's easier for me to show it to you. See it and think whether I should continue using this type of attack or not. Nathan stood up and walked to the line that was marked 10, which was the target. Are you going to try? The teacher appeared out of nowhere, but he didn't startle Nathan. The latter simply confirmed it with a nod. What are you going to do? I'll try bursting the ana to give it some power that allows it to travel like an arrow. Nathan chose the word arrow instead of bullet to avoid getting the teacher's suspicion. All right. How about you show me? Yes, teacher. Nathan turned to the dummy and straightened his back. He flapped his hands in order to relax his body. Vice Principal Vivian made him her disciple right after he finished with the exam, and it wasn't because of his unique summons. What of him actually piqued her interest? For someone who rejected hundreds of students and chose to get him. The teacher saw Nathan maintaining his natural but relaxed position. After that, Nathan stretched his right arm forward, making it as straight as possible. His index finger was extended forward and his thumb slightly rose, but still aligned perfectly with the index finger. This was a gun signal that could be made with one hand, but Nathan adjusted it to match what he needed. The thumb was adjusted carefully so that it felt like a front sight that would assist with his aim. After that, Nathan's left foot took a step back as his body tilted to the side. He casually put his left hand into his pocket, as if showing them he didn't need it for this attack. Now that everything was ready, Nathan started releasing his ana at the tip of his index finger. NOV-LB //JNN. Bluish particles started to gather and form a thumb-sized sphere. The energy was weak, but the teacher understood it since it was hard for someone to do it right away with no prior training. On the other hand, Nathan slightly adjusted his aim, the blue sphere following the index finger. I can't really make a real gun in this world, nor do I intend to. However, guns give me inspiration for how to fight even more freely. It is a simple concept as well, which can be developed further depending on how I want it in the future. Right when Nathan was about to shoot it, the teacher noticed that there was a spark from ana. That spark transferred the energy within them to this sphere, turning it into kinetic energy that propelled the bullet forward. He noticed that the power of this attack could be adjusted depending on how much he concentrated his ana. If he can somehow release more ana and compress it, it can produce quite a high speed. And depending on how he tweaks the flow of ana for that bolt, he can create various attacks, such as explosion after impact. So this is the vice principal's student. The teacher thought, feeling curious about Nathan. The bullet flew at high speed but was still slower than a normal arrow due to Nathan's sloppy control. However, the trajectory was straight without being pushed down by gravity. And with the help of the thumb, Nathan's accuracy increased drastically. As a result, the bullet actually hit the dummy, albeit missed the chest slightly since this was the first time he shot. This is it. Because I only shoot the ana, there is no recoil, which makes my aim even more stable. Once I get used to the aim and increase the power, it'll be a deadly ranged weapon. Nathan smiled. He didn't realize that Fenrir, Anubis, the teacher, and even David widened their eyes in shock. They never expected Nathan to be able to shoot that attack with such accuracy despite his sloppy control. How? That was the only question in their mind. Fenrir and Anubis realized why Nathan said he would simplify it so that this training didn't use too much of his time. He didn't need control, practice swinging 1,000 times a day, or even train his lower body. He only had to focus on the ana he put into that bullet to become strong. Nathan raised his hand and blew the tip of his index finger, as if blowing the smoke that would come out of a gun. Phew! Nathan furrowed his eyebrows while looking at himself in the mirror. Name, Nathan Reckmoon. Level, 25. Race, human. Quality, basic, high. He had reached the good quality before he summoned Anubis. But because he sacrificed a lot of his ana, he ended up going back to the basic quality. When he last absorbed the core, he reached that quality at level 30, which symbolized the reason Fenrir transformed at that level. This was his concern when he knew about the soul contract. But after he summoned Anubis, his worry shifted to his ability instead. I have about 340 ana. I can use Deadly Claw about 50 times, but the problem will be the bullets. Each bullet takes 5 ana, so I can only have 68 bullets. In a battle, I would probably need more bullets than I expect, and to combine it with the deadly claw, I might exhaust all my ana. Fenrir asked, "Leave it to me. I can handle all those opponents. Even if your classmates come at us, I'll make sure to defeat them. Don't worry. I have my healing ability as well. If you are injured, it's fine to rely on me." Anubis nodded in agreement. "There is one problem though." Nathan raised his finger. "Since this is a battle royale, there is a high chance that people will team up with each other to take down a stronger opponent. Depending on the objective this time, we will need a different plan. Is that why you didn't ask Selena earlier? With your current relationship, she would probably agree if you proposed to team up." "Indeed, but what if the objective doesn't allow us to team up? It'll just make the plans we have come up with go down the drain. Hence, I choose to wait until we know the context of the battle royale." Nathan explained. "Do you need my ability? I can lend it to you for just 10 ana per day." Fenrir smirked. "I can lend you mine for 9 ana per day." Anubis harumphed. "I can do it for 8. Fenrir glared at Anubis. "Are you picking a fight with me right now, you lowly dog? You are a dog." Anubis snorted. "I don't mind beating you up today. Don't worry. I will heal you after I'm satisfied." Nathan wanted to stop them, but he suddenly heard a knock. Knock. Nathan frowned. "It's that elf girl." Fenrir sniffed a familiar scent coming from the person outside the room. Knowing it was Alicia, Nathan immediately opened the door. "Alicia." Alicia waved her hand while smiling. "Good evening, young master. I hope I don't bother you." "Of course not. Please come in." Nathan opened the door wider, but Alicia shook her head. "I can't enter right now, since my purpose here is to tell you about one thing. It'll be unfair to others if I accidentally give you information about the battle royale tomorrow. The young master really loves to play with tricks after all." "Ah." Nathan scratched the back of his head. It seemed that his success haunted him back. "All right. What do you like me to know?" "Regarding tomorrow's battle royale, the mistress will be watching you. Well, a lot of people are interested in you, so if she is not there, you'll probably be kidnapped by someone." Nathan's eyebrows twitched. "That sounds annoying. Are they here to check me or?" "Ahaha." Alicia let out a hollow laugh. Alicia immediately took a step back as soon as Nathan realized the true reason for their visit. There was no way those people would be interested in him if he didn't summon only beasts. But if she said something, Nathan would probably catch the hidden meaning behind her words without her realizing it. In addition, letting him overthink would put him at a disadvantage as well, so it was better not to say anything. "In that case, can you tell me if there are outside forces coming to the academy? I'm sure you can answer this little question, right?" Alicia pondered for a moment before saying no. "Not yet." Nathan nodded. "All right. I won't make it hard for you. Thank you for telling me, Alicia." Alicia smiled wryly. It was a shame that she couldn't help him because Vivian had asked her to do so. "Please get a good rest for today, young master." After closing the door, Nathan's expression turned solemn. The information had allowed him to make a decision. "You guys should stop fighting now. I have a plan." Just like Nathan, other students were planning to get the best score. Jason already said the top scorers wouldn't be guaranteed to get the top ranks this time. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Hence, they had a chance to grasp it. Selena lowered her head, thinking about something. Risa, who was next to her, couldn't help but say, "Personally, I think that it's better to team up with him. I know that you don't want to be reliant on him, but if you don't get a good score, you might not be able to escape your fate." Selena didn't say anything. She only extended her hand as if telling her to better suck her blood instead of giving that opinion. Selena. Risa crossed her arms, feeling pretty frustrated. I will consider it. If I'm the one asking him for cooperation, I'll end up being too reliant on him, considering I have owed him quite a lot. I want to escape from my fate, but not at the expense of others. Selena shook her head. I have enough blood for tomorrow's battle royale. I don't need more tonight, said Risa as she disappeared. Meanwhile, Rudius glanced at several students next to him. Tomorrow. We'll dominate the ranking. It's a battle royale, so that means everything is allowed. We'll defeat everyone and get all the top spots. No need to give it to the others. Those students nodded their heads. Rudius, on the other hand, took a different approach. Instead of the straightforward tactic like the others, he preferred a little underhanded trick. If he couldn't even achieve this, he wouldn't be worthy of the second prince title. Have you prepared it? Yes. Everything is finished, Your Highness. No one will be able to get the top spot other than you. Good. I don't care who will be among the top, but I can only be the only one who is at the top. Rudius nodded while looking at the dark sky. The next day. Please wear this on your head. A staff handed him a red-colored headband. NOV-L-B//JNN. Nathan grabbed it with a smile before noticing that other students had put on their headbands. However, they had white headbands instead of the red one. Nathan couldn't help but ask, is this the correct headband? Yes, the staff confirmed, which made Nathan realize what they were aiming for. He casually walked to the front, where the others were waiting. To his surprise, Selena casually slipped past all the students to reach him. Nathan. What's wrong? Are you going to ask for another bet? Nathan asked nonchalantly. Selena's body shook, not expecting that Nathan had placed such a stigma on her. She felt somewhat hurt, even though her expression remained unchanged. No. I want. Before she could say something, Jason's voice echoed inside the hall. Welcome. Today is the day for the battle royale. I'm sure that you have prepared for everything, and sure, I hope that you have trained your hardest in the past 2 weeks. Jason smiled. Everyone's attention shifted to him, including Nathan. Selena bit her lips, but there was nothing she could do. She would just tell him later. I'll be explaining everything you need to know for this battle royale. I have said it before that even the top students won't be able to get the same result in this competition, because there are 3 things that you need in order to achieve such a high result. The first will be your strength. While this is obvious, it's not the most important factor for this battle royale. The second thing is your strategy. How are you planning to face this battle royale? I won't give you any clues, but I'm sure a lot of you have figured out what you have to do. Last but not least, you need luck. Yes. People use luck as an excuse, but in the end, luck will also determine your future, your life and death, and your skills. The battle royale rule is simple. You'll be transported to a forest. Jason posted the map on the board. It was a circular map that had been split into 3 parts. You will start from the bottom part here. Your objective is to reach the hut located in the upper part. The quicker you reach the hut, the more points you will get. However, there is a twist in this competition. As I said before, this is a battle royale. Of course, you are allowed to take down your competitors. You are free to use anything at your disposal to eliminate your rivals. And the point is as follows. White headband, 10 points. Red headband, 100 points. Killing 1 alien, 300 points. They couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock. The rules for the competition made them realize what they had to do. There were 5 people wearing red headbands. Those people were the top 5 on the previous trip. They instantly became the prey of the people with white headbands. Even if they couldn't defeat them, they could work together. Meanwhile, those who had red headbands needed to defeat 10 people to get the same amount of points. It simply wasn't worth it. With the great magic, you will be transported to a random location. I believe that the vice principal can help me with the explanation regarding the battle royale itself. Everyone turned their heads around as they heard footsteps on the right. It's the vice principal. Ooh. It appears that the vice principal will take care of this battle royale personally. I have to do a good job. If she thinks of me favorably, there's a chance that I will be recommended. Recommended? I'm going to be her disciple. You are dreaming. It's me. Nathan smiled wryly. He wondered what their reactions would be when they knew he had become Vivian's disciple from the beginning. Vivian skipped the pleasantries and raised 3 fingers. First, my spirits will assist you in going to this place. In this place, even if you die, you won't die for real, so you're free to fight any way you want. The pain has been toned down, but you will still feel it. I want you to understand what it means to be injured or even die, so please take this battle royale seriously. Second, you can exchange all your points in the hut. If you haven't gotten any results until this point, this is the perfect chance for you to turn the situation around. However, put this into your mind. This battle royale is trying to depict the real world where there are summoners and aliens on the battlefield. Who are your friends? Who are your allies? You choose it yourself. We want you to understand the real world as much as possible because after this battle royale, we'll begin the open curriculum, meaning that you are allowed to take a mission that gives you resources outside the school. Yeah, all the benefits that the school has provided you, you can finally put them to good use. Last but not least, the aliens here are not the actual aliens. It will be your upperclassmen that will act like aliens. They will guard the middle area, so you'll definitely encounter them. How are you going to pass them? It will be completely up to you. But I don't think it'll be challenging if I just bring random upperclassmen. Hence, I have personally invited them for you. Vivian smirked. Vice Principal. We are not that special. We are just slightly better than other students. A playful voice echoed in everyone's ears as 6 people came to the stage. All the students dropped their jaws. Each of these 6 students exuded an aura of experts that made the freshmen feel much inferior. The freshmen recognized them as the true top elites in this school, with enormous influences and power. It could be said that if they were to graduate, any influence would welcome them with open arms. They are the student council. Nathan widened his eyes in surprise. Even he felt a bit overwhelmed by their presence. Look. That is. One student pointed at the woman that spoke earlier. She had long blonde hair, and a rather unique pair of golden eyes. Her movement was smooth and pleasing, belonging to the high class. She is the legendary student council president, the Azelia Kingdom's first princess, Flora Vieta Azelia. It's known that she manages to actually summon an ancient spirit. It won't be long for her to summon a divine spirit, and become the empress of the Azelia Kingdom in the future. No. Take a look at the person next to her. He is the vice president of the student council, Axel Lateral. It's said that his talent is similar to Flora, and no one would be his match to succeed Flora in the future. Another student pointed at the man with blue hair. Nathan couldn't help but furrow his eyebrows, thinking that the auntie from the inn actually tipped him about the name of the people that figured out the hidden assignments. If he wasn't wrong, she mentioned Axel. So that's Axel. Nathan squinted his eyes. Don't just look at him. The secretary has a more romantic story. Reginar Loe, he was just a commoner until 1 year ago. Once he became the secretary of the student council, he got engaged with the treasured daughter of Duke Loe. It was said that he might become his successor, or at least get a position equal to it. The third person was a rather stiff person. He had a cool expression as he fixed his glasses, but people could see that he would definitely nag them if something wasn't perfect. No. What's the use of a position without money? Leon Strata is the son of the Strata conglomerate. After becoming a treasurer, he brought many deals to the academy. It was said that the items we received were affected by the wealth he brought to this academy. Still, they are third-year students. There is one more second year in the student council aside from the vice president. Without her, no one is able to hold the internal events within the academy. She oversees everything within the academy. Lovelia Ilua. Nathan furrowed his eyebrows. While they were amazing on their own, no one made a bigger impact than the last person. After all, that person was actually carrying a sword, almost as tall as she was. No one could actually ignore that huge sword, including Nathan. That last person. Ugh. Yeah. I don't really want to get into trouble with her. I've heard that she has personally ensured the security of the academy with her sword. It could be said that while her influence might not be as good as the others, she is currently the strongest summoner in this academy. Yeah. She comes from the family that produces knights for generations. Not only her summoning ability, it's said that she is already a sword master. Right? I have heard people say the sword saint is able to cut a mountain with a single swing of his blade. She might achieve a similar level to the sword saint in the future. Indeed. If you fight Noel Flamanti, you basically forfeit your life. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. The atmosphere became somewhat heavy. But their comments piqued Nathan's interest. It turned out she was the third year that had also figured out the hidden assignment. Flora smiled at them while saying, "Vice Principal Vivian has asked us to help with this year's Battle Royale. And no one really rejects the request of the Vice Principal. However, everyone doesn't need to fear and keep trying your best. We will be locking most of our power, so you still have the chance to succeed. Whether you have to outsmart us or overpower us, please do so if it can make you reach the goal. Also, if you don't know about this, I'll be sitting out and watching you from here together with the Vice Principal and Teacher Jason. As you know, killing is allowed, since you won't truly die if you end up dying in this battle royale. Please show me your abilities. I do want to see the potential of this year's students to see if any of you can actually become a student council member. I hope I can find several potential members from among you." Flora lit up the fire in their hearts. She confirmed that performing well in this competition would give them a higher chance to be recruited to the student council. The student council was the most prestigious position they could get in this academy if they wanted to succeed in life. Those who were formerly members of the student council had achieved high positions all around the world, so of course, they would be tempted with such an opportunity. Vivian stepped forward and stated, "In that case, let us begin the competition. You two, please proceed." Suddenly, two figures appeared behind Vivian. The first one came out with a huge tree. In fact, her body was attached to the trees, with vines covering her body. She had no clothes other than the leaves that barely covered her well-endowed figure. Still, they could feel a boundless ana leaking out of her body, creating a type of pressure they couldn't describe that somehow made people unable to think of anyone else aside from her. On the other side, there was a humanoid figure with similar features to an elf, but the pointy ears were short. Unlike the allure of the first familiar, she gave an ethereal vibe that made people want to worship her. Both of them made a hand signal as they both chanted at the same time. "O eternal tree, I call upon thee to bestow thy power, to grant thy strength and wisdom for the pitiful earth. Vis teres meon, Davius tes bion." They clasped their hands at the same time as a huge magic circle appeared, shining brightly like a pillar, and engulfing all the people inside the hall. "Come forth, Garden of the Beginning. Eternal Dream World." The blinding light gradually disappeared as all the students could see once again. They had arrived in a plain white room with nothing in it. It was there they met one of Vivian's familiars. She floated in the air and explained, "Welcome to my dream world, students. I am a divine spirit in charge of the dream world. In the next 60 seconds, you will be teleported randomly to a spot in the Garden of the Beginning. The only thing you need to know is to follow the sun if you wish to reach the goal. In that case, I'll give you time to prepare. With a nod, the divine spirit vanished into thin air. A number replaced her existence, which reflected the time they had left to prepare. 60. 59. 58. Now that the clock was ticking, Nathan knew he had to do something. If what other students said about the student council was true, it meant he had to work together with Selena. There was no way he could beat them alone, even if they limited their strength. Selena had the same idea. She slipped past several people and saw Nathan in the distance. However, before she could reach him, several students suddenly surrounded her. Selena. Please work together with me. Me too. If you lead us, we will be able to reach the finish goal. Please allow us to follow you. She was stopped by these students. Even after she pushed them away, they kept coming back, desperately begging her to allow them to join. Still, Nathan also faced the same difficulty. For some reason, the students surrounded him. Nathan. We know that we have misjudged you. Please. That's right. If we work together, we will get past the seniors. Nathan had a hard time seeing Selena in the distance. He couldn't help but furrow his eyebrows, realizing that someone was trying to sabotage them. Hence, the moment they stopped Nathan and Selena from joining hands, the competition once again became undetermined. If Nathan and Selena worked together, they were basically the strongest team in the entire class. August and Rudius were unlikely to work together due to their strong rivalry. Hence, the moment they stopped Nathan and Selena from joining hands, the competition once again became undetermined. Nathan clicked his tongue. He really couldn't say anything to Selena until the time was up and they were all teleported to the garden of the beginning. Despite being called a garden, the realm itself was like a forest. They were surrounded by tropical trees, with some dirt paths here and there. Considering he didn't see anyone coming, the garden seemed to be bigger than he expected. Wow! So she can summon a familiar with this level of ability. Nathan muttered. Fenrir might be able to kill a god, but he doesn't have the ability to form an independent realm. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Should I have a familiar that can create a realm like this? Well, I shouldn't get too greedy for now. Since teacher has a dryad that is actually becoming the spirit of the eternal tree, divine tree, or whatever it is. Maybe I should have that dragon who has been gnawing at the Yggdrasil's root. What is his name again? Nidhogg. Nathan shrugged his shoulders. That was just his thought for the future. There was nothing he could do for the time being, since summoning the third divine beast would just slow down his progression. Once Nathan regained his focus, he actually closed his eyes and remained still, as if he were thinking about his plan after not being able to work together with Selena. Outside the forest, Vivian, Jason, and Flora were watching multiple mirrors. They had been summoned by the dryad, as the mirrors had the frame made of branches and veins. Each mirror displayed one student, so they could monitor every single person in this forest. Well. Is that your disciple, Vice Principal? Flora had a sly grin on her face as she was pointing at Nathan. The one who is rumored to summon only beasts. Vivian's gaze turned cold, causing Flora to flinch. Oops. Please. People are allowed to be curious. After all, the Forest Queen, who has been alone this whole time, has chosen to take a disciple. And it's not about his unique summon. Flora smirked. What quality does he have to make the Forest Queen hold him in such a high regard? What are you planning to do? Others might not know about it, but I know the true face behind that playful expression. Oh my. She took a step back. If you are glaring at me like that, I'm going to cry. It's truly a shame for royalty. Vivian continued glaring at her, pressuring her even further. In the end, Flora confessed. He is my subject, so of course, I have to pay special attention to such a person. Who knows? He might be able to become a pillar of this country once he is stronger. You should have realized the reason I'm helping with this battle royale is so that I can watch the freshmen, right? It's true that the upperclassmen can't challenge them with the Summoner's War yet, but we can do something else. For example, after this battle royale, how about I invite your disciple to broaden his horizon by taking a high-level mission together? Vivian clenched her hands, as if she wanted to slap this cheeky face. However, Nathan wasn't that dumb either. Such a thing reassured her more than anything else. You are truly as annoying as ever. Do you think I don't know that you can do anything you want while going on that mission? Oh my. What can I do? If he doesn't come back, my reputation as his senior, as well as the princess of the Azelia kingdom, will be destroyed. If I'm unfair, he might spread some rumors. Vivian shrugged. I'll let him make a decision. However, if you use your position to threaten him to accept, don't think that I'll be letting you go. Is that so? But for that, he must need to do something special, or I won't have a justification to invite him to a trip. Flora pointed at his mirror. Nathan remained still the whole time, but Flora actually said, "Look. He is in trouble now." After several minutes, Nathan finally opened his eyes, as there were 3 people surrounding him. They had summoned their respective familiars. Nathan could recognize one of them, considering that person was among the top. Meanwhile, the other 2 didn't have a lot of impact on his mind to even make him remember their names. 3 people, huh? Nathan muttered. You might be stronger than Landark, but we don't have a single familiar with a wolf bloodline. That suppression won't be able to work against us. And now we have outnumbered you. Nathan's eyebrows twitched, not because he was afraid of getting surrounded, but because he was confused about why these 3 people cared for a chat before a battle instead of ambushing him right away. So. Nathan sighed. He remembered them since they were in the magic department together. Humph. Just accept your defeat, and give those headbands if you don't want to feel any pain. We have been observing you, and we know what you're capable of. There is simply no chance for you to win. Nathan let out a long sigh. Instead of talking like this, you should have taken my head before I knew your location. This was just a test from Nathan to know whether people preferred to ambush him, or just surround him. These 3 seemed to be the latter, which probably reflected the behavior of the average students. Suddenly, Nathan raised his hand, a small spherical ana forming on the tip of his index finger. When this bullet pierces through your head, does it matter anymore? They were alarmed by Nathan's threat as John immediately ordered. Attack him. Go. One of them waved his hand down, ordering the hobgoblin and the orc to attack Nathan. The others did the same, but this person was Nathan's first target. After all, this was none other than Nathan's trap. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. A pair of bandages flew toward the 2 familiars' necks, circling them from behind. Guo. Both the hobgoblin and the orc were clutching their necks as the bandages pulled them back. What? The guy widened his eyes in shock. He turned around and saw Anubis standing behind them this whole time. It turned out he had been hiding inside the bushes. The guy immediately tried to stop Nathan, but the only thing he saw was Nathan pointing his finger at him as the bullet flew straight to his head. He could do nothing as he dropped to the ground lifelessly. His body instantly disappeared, with his familiars following him back to the real world, leaving only the headband. Of course, focusing on one of them was too reckless, considering he would leave himself open. Those 2 people had sent their familiars from the beginning. Unfortunately for them, Fenrir suddenly leaped from on top of the tree. Stop him. John ordered his satyr to stop Fenrir, but it was futile. Fenrir slapped the hand that held the dagger and knocked it down. When Fenrir was about to kill the satyr, John's ogre extended its blade, stopping Fenrir's tail, which started glowing. Meanwhile, the other 2 familiars slipped past Fenrir, approaching Nathan. Anubis wanted to catch up, but he was still a bit too far. The other 2 familiars, the half-elf and the ghoul, were coming straight at him. The half-elf seemed to be unable to use magic, or bow since it was coming with a dagger. Nathan immediately used his Aina to form a shield in front of him. The shield was wide enough to stop them. The ghoul, with its lower intelligence, crashed into the shield. Meanwhile, the half-elf spun his body and avoided the shield. But before the half-elf could go for Nathan, the latter had pointed his index finger at his master. His opponent hurriedly formed a shield on his own, trying to block the bullet. In addition, the half-elf extended his blade toward the trajectory to intercept it. At the same time, John released a burst of energy from the side to knock him down. Bam! The strong force hit Nathan's arm, knocking him to the side. He fell without being able to do anything, as though he didn't expect John would attack him. Unbeknownst to him, this was what Nathan had been waiting for. Even if they worked together, their teamwork wasn't perfect. And the technique he learned was simply too overpowered. Even when he was falling down, Nathan could aim at his opponent accurately. In fact, the boost earlier had changed the angle of his attack, allowing him to find nothing to block his bullet in this new trajectory. Both the half-elf and his summoner wanted to change positions, but they were too late. Nathan had shot him, the bullet piercing his head. With a cheeky grin, Nathan muttered, "Nice assist." "You." John waved his hand, sending the burst to Fenrir. "Woof." Fenrir let out a bark which was not cute anymore. It produced a gale that neutralized the force coming at him. The satyr took this chance to grab his dagger before swinging at Fenrir's neck. Unfortunately for him, Fenrir had expected this and caught the dagger with its teeth. The ogre wanted to help the satyr, but two bandages grasped his wrists. Rah! The ogre tried to overwhelm Anubis but to no avail. Seeing the satyr was about to die, the ogre threw its long blade at Fenrir. Nathan had risen to his knees and hurriedly aimed for the blade, planning to knock it away with his bullet. But he missed. The blade moved a little too fast, and the rotation caused him to miss. "You suck." Fenrir clicked his tongue and turned around, slapping the blade with one paw. The satyr thought with only one paw, Fenrir wouldn't be able to stop him anymore. However, Fenrir suddenly put more pressure through his strength enhancement. Gah! The satyr felt like his stomach was getting pushed out of his body. "Just lay down there." Fenrir harumphed. John wanted to run away, but his feet refused to move. Even if he could, there was no way he could escape from Fenrir and Anubis. John gritted his teeth before shouting, "How? How are you not injured? That blast should have a strength equivalent to a bull charge. Why do you look like you aren't feeling any pain at all?" "Yeah, it hurt." He only pretended it didn't. As for why he was able to come back up so easily was because Anubis had been using his ability to heal him. However, Nathan simply shot John's head while saying with a smile, "There's no way I will tell you. Half of us have assembled." A student reported to the blonde-haired man in front of him. "Your Highness. We should be able to break through with this number." Rudius smiled as if everything had gone according to plan. "How is August?" "One of us has spotted him far away from here. He only has 2 people around him while we have 9. Rudius nodded. "In that case, we'll be going straight to the hut and dominating all the top positions without letting others have the chance." "Yes." The guy waved his hand at the others. "Let's move out." His action didn't escape the eyes of the observers. It seems that Prince Rudius has done his homework. Flora smirked, watching his every move from the mirror. "You have realized what he is doing." "Of course. From the very start, he seems to be mobilizing the masses to separate Nathan and Selena Ashton for some reason. This way, they won't be able to create an alliance, which might be capable of throwing the balance. If you look closely at one of the guys under the Blacksmith Guild's successor, you'll realize he is a double agent. This way, he can monopolize the battle royale, and more importantly, the people who receive the benefits from this will support him more, creating a powerful faction in the class." "What a clever trick." Vivian shrugged. "I wonder if that's going to happen." Flora smirked. Vice Principal, you have to be impartial. I know that your disciple is good. He can even take down 3 people at once. That strategy of him baiting his opponents is clever, but it won't be enough to defeat that massive group. Unfortunately, in the Phyrexia Academy, the royalties have to be excellent. If we end up becoming a scum that people can look down upon, the pride of the royalty will be diminished. If you can't even do well, and have a lot of nasty rumors in the academy, you won't even be considered for the throne. I know your disciple is excellent. He might be able to reach the end and produce an excellent result. In fact, if he continues his performance for the next 3 years, he won't have trouble marrying into a good noble family. Of course, I will take care of my subject. However, no matter how good he is, it's impossible for him to deal with that number, let alone Rudius himself. Vivian smirked. That's why I chose him as my disciple. Someone who dares to go against the flow, creating something new that no one has ever achieved before. Vivian pointed at the mirror, as if knowing what her disciple was planning to do. In the mirror, Nathan was actually smirking as he said, "All right. Let's go to the goal and camp right in front of the hut." Anubis and Fenrir widened their eyes in shock. Are you trying to fight every single one of them? I mean, it's effective if you want to gather their headbands. Fenrir's eyebrows twitched, feeling it would be a lot of trouble. If you do that, you will end up antagonizing everyone. Anubis rejected the idea. No. More importantly, even if the academy is stopping people from abusing their influence, there is a prince, right? If you kill him, there is a high chance that you will be in trouble. Nathan shook his head. Like a famous person once said, don't think so much when killing people. Life and death is nature's laws. All living beings are equal, and everyone has their right to survive and be killed. There might be royalty and lower beings, but in the face of death, a person's death is no different from a pig's. What's the difference? They're both dead. NOVLB //JNN. Anubis was speechless. Why does he sound like an insane person rather than a wise one? You don't look down on the Lord of Goo like that. Nathan sighed. Well, what I'm trying to say is that I have a way to not antagonize everyone. If we succeed, we will get a lot of cores. Fenrir had already known that Nathan might not be the smartest person out there, but he wasn't a fool. That was why he confidently said, let's go then. You should stop his reckless plan. Anubis wondered if he had made a mistake by responding to the call. What's wrong? You're chickening out. How about we make a bet? If I contribute more than you in this plan and the plan is working, you will act like a dog for a week. Fenrir smirked. This was him paying back for all the insults Anubis had thrown in the last few weeks. Fine. Anubis clicked his tongue before turning to Nathan. Summoner. If this plan doesn't work and you are only a reckless person, I won't be helping you anymore. I know. Nathan smirked. Now that he had gained their cooperation, he could finally do it. Let's go. The 3 of them immediately headed in the sun's direction, approaching the hut as close as possible. There was a big smile on Nathan's face as he kept muttering, point. Those who watched Nathan had different reactions. Jason just pinched the bridge of his nose, trying to act as if he didn't see anything. Vivian crossed her arms with a proud face. Nathan possessed the courage that she didn't have in the past. That was why she put all her bets on this disciple of hers. Go for it. Still, the reaction from Flora couldn't be any more different. The dryad had actually summoned roots from the ground, shackling Flora's ankles, wrists, and body so that she couldn't chase after Nathan. After all, Flora was sweating heavily as she couldn't help but drop all the etiquette and just shouted, "Are you insane? Stop that right now. Vice Principal Vivian. You should stop your disciple right now. Even if he might become my future retainer, I can't help him if he makes the entire class his enemy." On one side of the forest, August sheathed his sword with a calm expression. There were several headbands lying on the ground, as if he had cut all of them down. As expected of August. Thanks to you, we're able to defeat them easily. A student clapped his hands. That's right. If we continue in this direction, we should be able to reach the goal much faster than anyone else. August wanted to snort since these two people weren't exactly his friends. He thought they were here just so that he had enough numbers to go against Rudius. Let's continue. On the other side of the forest, students scattered while screaming. No. Don't kill me, please. A student crawled away in fear, albeit a blood tornado suddenly pierced through his stomach before expanding, shredding his body. What is this? My stomach hurts. My head, my. Another student wanted to escape, but foam suddenly came out of his mouth as he passed out. A Lilith struck him with her talon-like hand, crushing his heart. There was a girl standing on top of a tree, watching the entire thing with no expression on her face. Are we done? She jumped off the tree while asking. Yeah. We don't have to do it so quickly. We can let other students challenge those people first before we defeat them, said Risa while grabbing the headband. I can weaken them with my curse if you want. Sasha waved her hand, splashing the blood on her hand to the ground. No. We will continue onward and catch up to him as quickly as possible. We might end up finding a new possibility that we have never thought of before. Selena had made a decision. They couldn't formalize their alliance before, but it was still not too late. Risa and Sasha exchanged looks before agreeing to follow her decision. Meanwhile, Nathan and his two familiars were moving toward the hut at full speed. Fenrir raised his head as if noticing something. There is something in front, something dangerous. The upperclassmen. Nathan's heart skipped a beat. Most likely. We need to stop and go around. This way, we can pass without fighting. What if it's only a familiar? The upperclassmen should have 4 or 5 familiars at the very least, right? Nathan shrugged, thinking they should check first. If the enemy was just a low-level familiar, they should be able to defeat it before the summoner reached their position. This way, they could reach the hut much faster. Considering how vast the area they had to protect, they definitely had to use their familiars to block the path. Should we check then? Anubis asked. Nathan nodded in agreement. Anubis and Fenrir took the lead this time, as Nathan maintained a certain distance to know when he needed to stop. They had decreased their pace significantly. After a minute, Fenrir and Anubis stopped at the same time. Nathan hid himself behind a tree, taking a peek at the figure waiting in front of him. It seemed there was a small plane in front of them. It wasn't big but not small either. The figure looked humanoid enough, so he took a closer look, wondering if he could determine its race. That was when he was taken aback by what he found. It wasn't a familiar. It was a human. She made quite an impact in his mind because she was one of the few people that managed to figure out the secret assignment during the first trip. Yes, she was Noelle Flamanti. She stood in the middle of the plane while closing her eyes, her hand holding the sword close. The wind swayed her long brown hair left and right, yet she showed no reaction, as though she were sleeping while standing. As a swordsman, she had a rather unique form of clothing. Her student uniform consisted of a white shirt similar to others, but instead of a blazer, she wore a long white coat that ran all the way to her leg. The elegant skirt was replaced by shorts, which allowed her to move easier. She didn't even bother using long pants, thigh-high socks, or high boots because she was confident in using her Aina to ignore some small scratches when crossing a terrain filled with bushes or thorns. All of a sudden, she opened her eyes and grabbed the handle of her sword. Fenrir suddenly turned around and pushed Nathan down. Get down. Noelle drew her blade, releasing the Aina she accumulated inside her scabbard. The Aina extended her blade for over 30 meters, 98 feet, in a fan-shaped area, cutting down all the trees within that range. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. If Fenrir hadn't pushed Nathan down, he would have been cut on the waist. Bam! 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 All the trees fell down in rapid succession. The tree where Nathan hid earlier was about to fall on top of him, but Anubis hurriedly came and pulled the tree away with the bandages. Meanwhile, Noel glanced in Nathan's direction while saying, "Junior, since you are here, there is no need to be sneaky. Come at me." Nathan was completely speechless. Come at you? Are you insane? Do you understand what it means to hold back against your junior? Of course, there was no way he could say that. He ended up saying, "Are we seriously going to fight her?" The reaction coming from Flora and Vivian switched. This time, it was Vivian who got restrained by the Dryad's roots. "Let go of me, Lucia. I need to beat up that knight right away. Out of all the people, why is he so freaking unlucky to meet that girl?" Vivian struggled to break free. "Mistress, please calm down." The Dryad sighed. "How can I calm down? Why does he have to meet that evil knight who doesn't know how to hold back?" On the other hand, Flora was wiping the sweat on her forehead as she let out a long sigh of relief. "Whew. I have to thank Noel after this. To think that she would be the one stopping him. It seems that I don't have to intervene. Are we really going to fight her?" Nathan made a wry smile. "Fenrir. I'll be buying some time. Teach Anubis about that." Fenrir was confused for a moment, but there was one thing that always worked. It seemed that Nathan had a plan. There was a high chance they would fail, but this was probably the only method that could defeat such an opponent. Nathan stood up while saying, "Don't you know how to hold back against your junior?" There wasn't a change in Noelle's expression, as if she had done nothing wrong. "Can you say that to the aliens?" "Fair enough." Nathan raised his right hand. 5 bullets were formed on top of his palm, each bullet fairly weaker than the one Nathan usually shot, since he had to separate his control into 5 small spheres that contain Ana. People tend to use the shape of their weapon, or the explosive force of Ana to base their attacks. "You are quite unique, Junior." Noelle raised her sword. "I won't fight you with my familiars. You can consider this a handicap." "Thank you then," said Nathan in a sarcastic tone as he fired out all those bullets at her head. "Even though they are unique, you should have made a lot of them and attacked me from all directions if you want to have a chance to hurt me." Noelle skillfully put her sword in the bullet's trajectory, blocking all of them in rapid succession. However, her calm expression turned to surprise because those bullets were never meant to hurt her. He aimed at her head so that she would block it with her sword, covering her vision for just a split second. Nathan took advantage of that moment to turn around and start running. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. What? Noelle was speechless. Nathan looked like he was raring to go against her, but the next second, he ran away as quickly as possible. Even Fenrir and Anubis dropped their jaws to the ground, as if they couldn't believe what their summoner had just done. "Who wants to fight against an opponent that can kill me instantly? I'll only fight in a battle I can win." Nathan laughed. "You disappointed me, Junior. To think that you would be a coward." Noelle stomped the ground with her right foot, and used that power to cover the distance between her and Noelle. "What?" Nathan widened his eyes as if Noelle closing their distance in an instant was out of his calculation. Not only them, even the people watching through the mirror couldn't help but complain. "What? Did he just run away? Is he a coward? Should I really take him in?" Flora's brain was short-circuited, never expecting that Nathan was someone who could easily change his mind. On the other hand, Vivian could only laugh. "What are you laughing at? Your disciple is a coward." Flora couldn't comprehend how Vivian still had the heart to laugh. If Fenrir hadn't acted surprised, she would have believed that Nathan ran away because he didn't want to die, even if it meant leaving behind his familiars. But Fenrir should have seen it coming, since they did the same trick against Alicia. That was why she knew this was Nathan's trick. Yeah. That evil knight will definitely have a hard time against him. You should fear him the most, not when he is overwhelming, but when he is running. After all, that's when he becomes unpredictable. As she said those words, Fenrir and Anubis leaped into the air, taking the perfect time to strike Noelle when she was about to pass them. Noelle definitely thought that Nathan had abandoned the two, so the moment Fenrir and Anubis attacked, she didn't have the chance to counterattack. In addition, Fenrir and Anubis used their respective power and strength enhancement, forcing Noelle to use her own Aina to neutralize them. All she could do was raise both her sword and scabbard, blocking their attacks at the same time. Noelle's momentum vanished. Before she could do anything, Nathan suddenly turned around and formed one more bullet, aiming at her chest. Nathan thought he would be able to get her just like he defeated Alicia. Sadly, Noelle proved him wrong. She kicked the ground, scooping the earth with her pointy knight shoe and raising it up. The timing was so perfect that the bullet actually hit the soil, which transferred the energy. As a result, it was the soil that hit her chest instead of the bullet, ultimately stopping her from having a hole in her chest. Still, that kind of attack was supposed to hurt, but she didn't even flinch as if she couldn't feel the pain. Due to the initial attack failing, Fenrir and Anubis ended up landing on the ground. The moment she was free, Noelle released a massive amount of Aina from her body, causing a powerful shockwave that pushed Fenrir and Anubis back. Anubis summoned his bandages, trying to capture her ankles and wrists. Fenrir let out a roar, trying to disperse her Aina. Noelle used all that Aina to boost her physical ability before leaping toward Nathan. Nathan instinctively used his Aina to create a translucent barrier just to distract her, but Fenrir knew what was going to happen. Get down. Nathan trusted Fenrir and ducked as Noelle cut his barrier along with the trees behind him. After that, she spun her body and kicked Nathan in the side. After getting beaten so many times by the aliens, Nathan instinctively raised both of his arms before that kick arrived. He managed to block it, but the kick was powerful enough to launch him away. His body bounced several times on the ground as he crashed into a tree. Gah! Nathan coughed up blood as he lost the sensation of his arms. Noelle stood there for a second before lowering her head. I underestimated you, Junior. For that, I'll apologize. However, you can abandon the idea of getting past me. Instead of getting to the hut to exchange for some cores, if you manage to deal any damage to me, how about I give you a better offer, such as letting you join me on a mission? Upperclassmen can't challenge the freshmen to a summoner's war, but they can bring a freshman out on a mission. This will definitely be a good experience for you to broaden your horizons, Junior. Hearing that proposal after getting kicked like this definitely pissed him off. Even Fenrir and Anubis gnashed their teeth, as they were about to pounce on her. They never thought that their bodies would be so weak that they couldn't react to that movement. As much as Nathan wanted to reject it, this was actually a good proposal. It was true that it could broaden his horizon, but the most important thing from such a mission was the upperclassmen's advice. He wanted to hear from their experience about their abilities, tricks, and even tips for summoning. Still, even if he liked a girl, he would definitely not like to take a beating for no reason, let alone from someone he had just met. While getting back on his feet, Nathan said, "You should have asked that without kicking me, don't you think?" My apologies. I couldn't control my impulse, even though I knew it was wrong. It appears I haven't trained enough that I can't control my impulse even though I'm in the wrong. I'll be compensating you. Noelle raised her right hand before hitting her left arm, snapping it so that she couldn't use it anymore during this battle. Even Nathan was surprised that she was willing to fight in a handicap battle because of that kick. At the same time, it showed her confidence in defeating Nathan. To defeat him, one hand was enough. Does this mean I've won the bet? I have managed to injure you with my words alone. Nathan smirked. It doesn't count because I haven't heard you agreeing to my proposal. Noelle wasn't flustered by Nathan's wording, as if she had classified Nathan to be those with little tricks. Tisk. Nathan clicked his tongue. Well, I thought about punching your face or something if I managed to injure you since you kicked me out of the blue. I don't want people to think I'm easy to bully just because you are a woman after all. You're welcome to punch me, not once but twice, if you really succeed in injuring me. For Noelle, this was a kind of test to see whether or not Nathan had enough power to experience the mission with her. If he was too weak to even injure her in this state, he would die if he followed her. Nathan took a deep breath. This was the first time ever since coming to this world that he could feel he had less than 0.0001% to succeed. Even fighting Alicia, or the aliens, had much higher success than this. Despite knowing that he would fail, Nathan smiled as though he had a plan in mind. In that case, I thank you in advance for the opportunity. Nathan shouted, Anubis. Anubis sent for the two bandages, trying to capture Noelle's blade. Noelle waved her blade at Anubis, sending forth a sword strike. Anubis jumped to the left and looped around, approaching her from behind. At the same time, Fenrir took that time to come to Nathan. Fenrir. Do whatever you can to create an opening. As long as I can use that opening, I will definitely be able to win. I'm a greedy man. I don't plan to only defeat her, but take it all. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Fenrir grinned. I want to warn you not to bite more than you can chew, but I guess this is much more exciting. Now that he knew Nathan's intention, Fenrir rushed forward, approaching Noelle, who was occupied by Anubis. She blocked Anubis' teeth with her sword and ultimately launched him into the air. Before she could send forth another sword strike, Fenrir pounced on her. Noelle already sensed Fenrir, so she turned around at the last minute, using the sword strike to Fenrir instead of Anubis. Fenrir slapped that sword strike using Alicia's ability. However, his ana and mastery over the technique were still a bit too low. He managed to distort the sword strike, but a part of it still hit his body. Luckily, Fenrir's super durability endured that hit, leaving only a scratch. Fenrir's claws clashed with her blade, stopping her movement for a second. Anubis shot out his bandages and wrapped her entire body. Mummification. Unfortunately for him, Noelle let out a burst of ana all around her body to loosen the bandages. Then she cut the bandage with minimal movement, allowing Fenrir to slip past her defense. Fenrir pounced on her while she stopped him with her knee. Before Fenrir pushed her down, Nathan positioned himself to her left, shooting out the deadly claw. He positioned it between Noelle and the ground so that Fenrir would push her toward the claw. As expected for a knight, her lower body was much stronger than a normal person. At the last second, she managed to tilt her body slightly and lowered her foot on top of the claw. The ana that boosted that stomp shattered the claws like glasses. After that, she tossed her blade into the air and grabbed Fenrir's arm before throwing him with her monstrous strength. What? Anubis, who was about to attack, was forced to send forth the bandage to catch him because Noelle sent forth a sword strike right behind Fenrir. After catching Fenrir, Anubis attached the second bandage to the tree and pulled both of them away from the sword strike. However, this was just a means to stop them. Noelle took this chance to attack Nathan instead. As if expecting her to come to him, Nathan had already made a gun hand signal. To her surprise, he clenched his hand into fist at the last second and shot out his deadly claw instead. You're too focused on my hand. The deadly claw extended to her heart, albeit it suddenly broke apart when a shield made of ana appeared in its trajectory. Sadly, your ana is too low. Now that she reached him, Noelle waved her blade at his neck. Nathan hurriedly ducked, avoiding the blade. But once again, Noelle came with a kick. Little did she know this was Nathan's real aim. He already made a grabbing motion. The kick might be fast and powerful, but as long as he could grab it, he could claim he had dealt a bit of damage to her. Clever trick, but Noelle showed her superior ana control. When Nathan was about to catch her leg, it felt like there was an invisible barrier that pushed him back until that kick landed on him, blowing him away.